It really does all fall down, even the loudest fallouts in the music industry. And when it comes to complicated friendships, few have been as layered, emotional, and publicly dissected as the one between Teyana Taylor and Kanye West. For years, their relationship seemed like a classic story of creative chemistry turning into quiet frustration. Kanye West, the visionary producer and founder of Good Music, signed Teyana Taylor in 2012 during the era of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. At the time, it felt like a dream alignment. She was young, talented, multidimensional, a singer, dancer, choreographer, actress. He was at the peak of his artistic influence, shaping culture with every release. On paper, it looked like the perfect match. But the music industry has a way of revealing cracks behind the glamour. By 2020, Teyana had released multiple projects under the label, including her third studio album, The Album. Despite strong fan support and impressive streaming numbers, over 160 million streams in 1 year alone, she shocked the industry by announcing her retirement from music. The tone wasn't explosive. It wasn't bitter. It was exhausted. She spoke openly about feeling underappreciated, about giving 110% and receiving what felt like 10% in return, about constantly getting the shorter end of the stick. It wasn't just about numbers or marketing budgets. It was about being heard, being seen, being valued. In a December 2020 Instagram post, she celebrated her success while simultaneously closing a chapter. She made it clear that her passion was real, her work ethic undeniable, and her gratitude toward fans genuine. But she also made it clear that she wasn't willing to keep pouring herself into a system that didn't pour back. Later, during an appearance on Cam Newton's Sip and Smoke series, she clarified that her retirement wasn't about quitting forever. It was about refusing to move another inch for a company that, in her view, wasn't fully invested in her growth. That distinction mattered. This wasn't someone walking away from art. It was someone walking away from imbalance. Naturally, speculation grew about her relationship with Kanye. In an era where public opinion about him had become increasingly polarized, it would have been easy for her to distance herself completely. Many did. His controversies, political statements, and unpredictable public behavior reshaped his reputation. The cultural narrative around him shifted dramatically. But nearly 5 years later, Teyana offered a refreshingly grounded perspective. In a Vanity Fair interview published in January, she revealed that despite everything, they are on good terms. Not blindly supportive, not in agreement on everything, but not enemies either. And that nuance is rare. She explained that she doesn't have to agree with everything he does or says, but she also isn't going to abandon him or publicly trash him. To her, it's simple. Relationships are complicated. People she loves, her brothers, her close circle, sometimes do things she doesn't agree with. That doesn't automatically erase history or loyalty. What stood out most was her approach to honesty. She said that if Kanye wants a real answer, he knows he can ask her, and he knows he'll get it. That's not blind loyalty. That's accountability within friendship. She handles things behind the scenes. She speaks her truth directly, not performatively. In an industry fueled by public statements and viral callouts, that restraint speaks volumes. At the same time, Teyana has made it clear that she believes in staying in her own lane. "I'm in my business and I drink my water," she said, a simple but powerful philosophy. It's a reminder that sometimes the strongest position is focusing on your own growth instead of constantly reacting to someone else's narrative. And her growth has been undeniable. After stepping away from music, doors opened in ways that even she may not have predicted. Acting became more than a side venture. It became a main stage. Her performance in one battle after another earned her the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Female Actor in a Motion Picture in 2026. It was a defining moment. Not just a career pivot, but a career elevation. On stage, accepting the award, she delivered a message that resonated far beyond Hollywood. She spoke directly to brown women and little brown girls. She declared that their softness is not a liability, that their light does not need permission to shine, that they belong in every room they walk into. It was powerful, it was personal, and it felt like the culmination of everything she had fought for: visibility, recognition, space. The irony is almost poetic. The artist who once felt unseen by her own label stood under the brightest spotlight in film, being celebrated by an entirely new industry. The chapter that closed in music created room for something even bigger. Meanwhile, her dynamic with Kanye evolved into something more mature. Less about contracts and albums, more about personal boundaries and honest dialogue. It's proof that not every industry fallout has to end in permanent warfare. Sometimes it transforms into distance, reflection, and eventually, balance. Their story highlights a broader truth about creative partnerships. Genius and vision can build incredible art, but sustainability requires mutual respect and support. When that balance slips, even the most promising collaborations can fracture. But fracture doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes it means redirection. Teyana's redirection didn't just shift her career, it shifted her identity in the public eye. She went from being viewed primarily as Kanye's protege to being recognized as a standalone force. A mother of two, a director, a performer, an actress, a woman navigating fame on her own terms. Her daughters, Junie and Rue, remain at the center of her world. Motherhood, by her own accounts, grounds her perspective. It reinforces why she values peace over public drama, why she chooses her battles carefully, why she refuses to be consumed by narratives that don't serve her growth. And maybe that's the most compelling part of this entire story. In an era where celebrity conflicts often escalate into endless headlines, Teyana chose evolution instead of escalation. She chose honesty without hostility. She chose to acknowledge disappointment without rewriting history. She chose to keep it real without making it messy. At the same time, Kanye remains one of the most polarizing figures in modern culture. His influence on music, fashion, and pop culture is undeniable. So are the controversies. For someone who once worked so closely with him, navigating that public tension requires balance. Teyana's stance isn't about defending everything he's done. It's about understanding complexity. It's about recognizing that people are layered, flawed, and sometimes contradictory. It's about drawing personal boundaries without turning everything into a spectacle. And in many ways, that perspective mirrors her career journey. She's no longer seeking validation from a machine. She's building her own. She's not waiting for push or promotion. She's creating impact through performance, storytelling, and authenticity. The entertainment industry moves fast. Allegiances shift. Collaborations fade. But what endures is how people carry themselves through transition. Teyana Taylor carried herself with clarity. She didn't explode. She didn't vanish. She recalibrated. Her story reminds us that sometimes falling out isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of something more aligned. Sometimes the loudest conflicts eventually soften into understanding. And sometimes, walking away from one spotlight leads you directly into another. This isn't just a celebrity reconciliation story. It's a story about agency, about knowing when to step back, about maintaining relationships without losing yourself, about outgrowing spaces that no longer nurture you. And perhaps most importantly, it's a story about redefining success. Because success isn't always about staying. Sometimes it's about leaving with peace of mind.